Okay, we're going to do it. Okay.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Darren Campbell. And to my right is Vesa Rantanen. He's setting a record to us today, coming from the farthest distance that we've ever had a podcast before in Helsinki, Finland. So give him a warm welcome. Welcome, Vesa Rantanen. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you, Darren?
Can't be better. Life is beautiful. Life is great.
Awesome.
Having so much fun doing this, keeping super busy. And even though the pandemic hit and most people are not feeling too good about life, life is fantastic for me. And one of the reasons is doing this and, getting together with old friends like you. And this is really exciting. I've been wanting to do this for months and months and months, and we finally made it happen. So
I know. And you finally found a topic that I was willing to discuss with you.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to get into a lot of talk about the Finns and the NHL these days. But let's go back and talk about some history. I want to go back to how we met and all the shenanigans that we got into over the years. And all the fun.
Let's not get into those. We can
get into some.
Yeah, but we met back in 1996 at the Canucks press box.
That's correct.
We were sitting next to each other, and I was a correspondent from a foreign country and didn't know anybody, but you took me under your wing and helped me a lot back in the days. And since those days, I've come back to Vancouver for another stints to cover NHL for the outlet that I work for in Finland, twice actually.
Yeah.
And the last time was 10 years ago.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Oh man, flies. I miss back. You guys, you have the best city in the world. Man, Vancouver is great.
Yeah, I'm glad
miss
you
so
say that.
Dearly.
It's really nice to have foreigners come here, fall in love with the city. It made me appreciate the city so much more. The more you loved it, the more you showed appreciation on how great it was. And
you gotta be proud of that place because it's really something special.
Yeah, it sure is. Vesa is the chief sports editor for a sports paper, the biggest paper in Scandinavia. It's called Ilta-Sanomat, correct?
Yep.
And
so I run the sports department of the news organization, and Ilta-Sanomat is the biggest in Finland when it comes to readership. And we run a weekly sports magazine and a daily online and newspaper sports section.
Wonderful. How many people would you be in charge of? How big is your department?
Oh, full-timers, is it 22? And regular freelancers altogether for around 40-50 people.
Wow. And has it been reduced as the years go by because the newspaper industry is having such a trouble? Has it
not with us, because the magazine still goes pretty well. Weekly periodicals are not suffering that bad as newspapers. Right. And in Finland, the newspaper readership is way higher than in North America. I mean, obviously we have had problems and troubles, and papers themselves are disappearing from the market, but people are online, and I can't say that it's awesome business, but we get by. We haven't had to lay off people at all during the hard times as the news media has had. So particularly us are doing fairly well, I would say.
Excellent. Yeah, fantastic to hear. I wish I could say the same thing for North American media. We're seeing slashes and cuts across the board all over. We were just hit hard here in Vancouver this past week.
I heard that.
Team 1040, a radio station that was just celebrating its 20th anniversary in the local market, was just shut down mid-morning show. They walked in, they kicked everybody out, they changed the format, and everybody was out of job. It sent shockwaves through the country. Three stations across Canada were shut down. A lot of people on the TV side and on the radio side were gone, out of a job. And and it was horrible. It was really a dark day in the city and in this country. It took a lot of people by surprise.
It's hard to imagine that you don't have Team 1040 anymore, because when I lived there, I listened to that all the time.
Yeah.
Great broadcasting, great shows, great personalities. It's very difficult to imagine a city without Team 1040 anymore. I mean, wow, it's blow.
Yeah, it was a huge blow. I've listened to Team 1040 5, 6, 7 days a week for 20 years, and I've got to know the guys so well. I welcome them into my life on a daily basis. They make me laugh. They make me get insight, information. I have really just had them as a source and as a way of just being close to the local sports scene, and for them to just do that, I just think it was so wrong. There must have been a way for Bell Media to be able to figure it out and keep it running. I don't think the ratings were down at any compared to any different times over the years. So I'm not sure why this decision was made, but I feel really sorry and sad for a lot of the people that have put their heart and soul into that station for the past 20 years.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Definitely.
So you come here to Vancouver 1996. I had been covering the NHL for a few years before then, and suddenly I'm sitting in the press box watching the opening game of the season, GM Place, Rogers Arena now. And I see this guy walk in, and I can tell you're from Europe, just the way you're dressed, the way you look. I can tell you this is a European guy. I'm like, oh, I should make a point of trying to go talk to this guy and see what his deal was. Forgot, all of a sudden, boom, you sit next to me, introduce yourself. We start talking. You have fairly broken English at the time.
I barely even spoke any English at the time. My God, I don't even remember how I survived back in those days, because I needed to call you like every other day and ask that, could you repeat that what this person or he or she said on TV, because I didn't quite get the quote.
Yeah, I would get a lot of calls from you, and you would say, what the heck was he talking about? And guy was using some English slang language that just you had never heard before. You just didn't understand what he was talking about. And I helped you through it, but it was fantastic. It was so great for me to, as I said, fall in love with my city again, fall in love with North America again, because your job was to try to cover the NHL on a North American scale, not just the Canucks. It was trying to get stories from the NHL, and also try to get really in touch and friendly with the Finnish players that were in the league.
Yeah, I obviously focused on covering those Finns.
Right.
And back in the day, 1996, people didn't even have cell phones. So I used to call their homes, like, on off days, and ask what's going on. And a lot of the guys that played at that time, I have become friends with over the course of years. Obviously, they don't play anymore, but you formed a bond, because there was only like 20 some Finnish NHL players at the time. So I mean, most of the times, many of times, some players were actually delighted that somebody from their home country would call them and ask what's going on, and they could finally speak some Finnish, because we all had similar situation, difficult, broken English, new country. Everything was so different back in the day. Nowadays, you get everything online. I mean, there aren't boundaries anymore. I mean, it's so much. Those were the
days, my friend.
Early days.
Yeah.
Like, world was different at that time.
Sure was.
I faxed many of my stories to Finland. I faxed. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's funny. Wow. Yeah, it's hard to even imagine. Yeah, fax machine just seems like so far in the past in history. Yeah, it's.
I didn't have an email address. I didn't email.
Unbelievable, huh? Yeah. Wow. That's crazy that how times have changed 25 years. It's incredible. Yeah.
But you only get younger. How's that possible? How's that possible?
That's awesome. Well, see, I think I have become young, stayed young, and continue to be young because I do what I love, and I'm able to find things that I love. I get up in the morning, I'm excited. I have a hard time sleeping at night because I'm so excited about the next day, and I can't wait to do this. And I was kept up last night because I couldn't wait for this. I couldn't wait for this conversation we finally had. I did 101 podcasts before today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wanted to do you as a podcast number 1, but all this, delays and, excuses from you, but we can't do it. But I'm doing it first thing in the morning. So I decided, well, I better bring some, I better have some Yager. I better have some shots of Yager. I better have some straight vodka here and make sure that I'm, getting back into the mode of the good old days.
I hope that the doorman of Roxy watch this show every once in a while. Yeah. Did we ever used to go there, man? 4 nights a week.
I still get calls from them telling me, hey, we miss you, please come back. My kid needs to be put through his 4th year of college. So and I think that I've seen some emails about grandkids of some of those bartenders, and they're wanting to know if we can help them get through college too. So
oh man,
good days, good times, amazing.
What
I just really loved was you said to me, this is my mission. I'm here to try to learn the Finnish players, get to know them really well, go back to Finland and make my paper the #1 paper in Scandinavia. And I'm excited about this, but I'm really nervous because my English isn't great. I've only been to North America once in Montreal. I don't know, who to talk to, where to go, how to, make this happen. And I said, well, hey, you just met your tour guide. I've been everywhere in North America and we can make this work. And, those first 2 years were great. We had a lot of fun. We had a really good time. But your 3rd stint here, you went to Toronto for 1 stint, then you came.
That was a mistake. Nothing wrong with Toronto. I like the city, but can't compare to Vancouver.
Your 3rd stint here was just perfect timing in my life, perfect timing in your life. We came together as buddies again. We were each other's entertainment. We were each other's therapists. We were each other's just everything. And we became really, really close and best friends again. And I really look back on that time very fondly. Just remember so many amazing moments and fun times, just really, reconnecting so much and really, being able to love life again. It was a lot of fun.
That's very good to hear. And right back at you. Those were, I mean, I have a family now and we have a 4-year-old kid and it's awesome. But those 2 years were probably the best years of my life at that point in my life. But those were great times and you were a very good and close friend. Thank you for that.
I actually can't hear Time of My Life from Green Day without getting a little tear in my eye because, that song really just embodied what happened during that time.
I hope you had the time of your life, and I certainly did.
Nice. And closing time. We seem to hear that every night.
Semi-Sonic. I do have the CD somewhere here, but I'm not sure where it is. Somewhere in there.
It's a big CD collection.
Hey, I was born in 1970, so I know what the CD is. Today's people don't even know what the CD. I still have LPs too.
Nice.
Do you know what those are?
Going way back. Wow. Viewers, listeners, you can write in, and if anybody knows LPs, we can give you a prize.
This couple of jaws are dropping right now. LPs? What? Yeah.
So good times, great times.
Yeah.
Times of our lives, and something that I'll always be look on fondly. And yeah, I can't wait to reconnect with you live. The last time I saw you, I was in Finland. I almost died twice, but the rest of the time it was actually fairly good. I had a great time.
I almost died twice. I had good times.
Look, fondly, you get some ups and downs in life. It's kind of a roller coaster, so you got to just try to stay on the positive side of things.
How's the suit that you drowned in the ocean?
It'll never recover. It's never gonna recover. But I keep it just so that I have that memory.
Oh my God! Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a pretty shocking evening and a pretty rude awakening, going from a wedding to an ocean, just like that.
Yeah. So note to yourself that if you are, wedding drunk, big time drunk, don't walk by the seawall. Don't walk by the seawall.
Very good.
Take another route. Take another route.
Yeah.
Goes for Vancouver too, because I used to live in Yaletown and I had a place by the seawall, and you can easily drop from there too if you are, very heavily drunk. Yeah. Which we never did.
Which we never were, yeah. The thing about Finland, though, is I don't think they want people to get back out once they fall in, because there was no lifesavers, no ladders, no ropes, nothing. You just had to fend for yourself and hope.
Yeah, you probably swam at least a kilometer from where you dropped, obviously. If you were able to locate the spot that you dropped, the next ladder from there by the restaurant was at least 1 kilometer away.
Amazing.
And it was September.
Yeah, it was cold.
So it was freezing cold.
It was so cold.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm here. I made it. I've got 9 lives. I think I've used most of them. So, I got to be a little more careful these days. I'm getting older, using quite a few up. The blood clot was something that, I really wish didn't happen. And, I have to deal with that. But hey, I'm still here, still kicking. They can't take me out yet. So I'm good.
I mean, there aren't too many people who have actually flown from the other side of the globe with the blood clot in their lung and survived. Yeah. I mean, there aren't too many. So you have to consider yourself lucky.
Yeah. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. So fun times, great times. I loved Helsinki. I loved Finland. I loved when we went to your hometown, Tampere. We were able to really enjoy ourselves. I loved that I was able to go to hockey games. I was able to go to basketball games. I was able to see mixed martial arts. I was able to really immerse myself in a lot of the sporting culture, which was super important to me. And I do that on every trip that I make to every country. I really want to see the local sports scene. And I was so happy that the World Basketball Championships were happening. Finland was doing well. They had this wolf pack mentality. And all of a sudden, actually, some Finns cared about basketball. It was kind of cool and kind of fun. I couldn't believe I got a chance to actually go to a mixed martial arts event and see the local talent and, meet a lot of the guys. That was fantastic and fun for me.
And you met Esa Tikkanen.
I sure did.
Remember?
Yeah, that was fantastic. Actually, the same night we were talking to Esa Tikkanen when we were at the Jokerit game, we ran into Mikko Ruutu and his agent, Jarri. And we had a really nice little chat. You guys talked in Finnish, and you were trying to find out where his career was going from that point. He had just
that was Tuomo. That was Tuomo Ruutu.
Oh, Tuomo Ruutu. Sorry.
Tuomo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He was trying to decide where his career was going to.
Mikko, and I believe he played one more season after that in somewhere, perhaps in Switzerland.
Okay.
Was it? I'm not sure.
Okay.
Can't remember anymore.
Sorry,
but he retired. He retired soon after.
Okay.
because of injuries.
Mikko Ruutu just retired this Tuesday.
Mikko Koivu.
Mikko Koivu just retired this past Tuesday. And it was a big deal. He had spent 15 years in Minnesota. He was captain for 11 years, the first and only full-time captain they had. He's the all-time leader in points for them, for assists for them, for games played. So many things. He became a really big fixture there. Tell me about hearing the news that he retired, and a little bit of inside information.
I was shocked, obviously, because it was during the season, and I briefly met him prior the season. He was visiting in Turku before he went to Columbus, and he was very, very excited to have one more year, or maybe two even, for to the end of his very good career. But there are personal issues behind too. Obviously, he got divorced a little more, was it like a year ago or a little more than a year ago, and they have 3 kids, and it's a nasty divorce. So the kids are in Minnesota, and Mikko was in Columbus. So I think that played a part, because he obviously wanted to be closer to his kids, and also the way he is and how he is. And I believe if you have read what Jarmo Kekäläinen, the GM of Columbus, has said about it, I think it's pretty true, because Mikko, when he plays, he wants to be one of the core players of the team. He wants to be on a certain level for sure. And if he feels that he can't quite, match the level or the standard he has put himself, it's probably better for him to call it quits. And that happened. All those things combined made him to make the decision. The people probably in North America don't necessarily understand the significance of Mikko Koivu in Finnish hockey, because you would name all-time Finnish players. You would name Jarri, Kurri, Teemu, Sellanne, perhaps, maybe Saku Koivu, who was a captain of Montreal for 9 years. Well, Mikko is right up there. He's one of the best Finnish hockey players ever. Like he's in top 10 for sure when you combine everybody, and his leadership, especially with the national team. Like Canadiens have, you have a very good relation with your national team too, and you have some players like you have obviously Wayne Gretzky's and Sidney Crosby's and superstars, and then you have players who have paid their dues to the national team for years and years and years, like Ryan Smith, like Captain Canada type of guys.
Right.
So Mikko Koivu, he never won a Stanley Cup in NHL. He never won a scoring race or any other individual, not even Selke Trophy, which he should have won, but he never won it.
Yeah.
But for the national team, he was an icon. He was a captain, like his big brother Saku. When he retired from the national team, Mikko took the torch, and he was the obvious captain. He's like, if you have in a book, you have to describe a captain, that there's a picture of Mikko Koivu next to it, because his qualities, the way he is, the level of the professionalism is so high. So he was the obvious choice to be the captain every time he had a chance to play for the national team.
He had a really amazing line mate in Tuomo Ruutu. For the national team. Whenever they got together, it was magic. It was really, really reminiscent of Teemu back in the day when he was with Saku Koivu, and they were able to be that 1-2 punch for the Finnish national team.
They Mikko and Tuomo, the younger brothers. Tuomo obviously had an older brother, Jarkko, who played for the Canucks. We all remember him.
One of our favorite guys.
Yeah, those were the younger brothers who took over from the previous generation, and Mikko and Tuomo together, those were the two guys from their generation that everybody looked up to. And they, I mean, this is a little detail. Canada obviously has so many world championships, but Finland only has 3. I mean, the hockey is number 1 sport in this country, and we take world championships and the Olympics very seriously, but we only have 3. And Mikko and Tuomo were the dynamic duo in 2011 World Championship team, and Mikko was a captain of the team, and Tuomo was a leading scorer, I believe. And in Finland, when you achieve something like that on a national team level, you become an icon. You are part of the folklore. You are part of the something very special. And it was their time to win back in 2011, and those 2 players were the most important players for Team Finland at that time. And they earned and deserved their place in Finland's hockey history because of that. Even though they weren't superstars on NHL level, they were good players. They were very good players, but not superstars, not all stars. We gotta be honest with that. Only Jarri, Kurri, and Teemu Sellanne from Finland have reached that level. But there are new players to come, and there's going to be a couple of other all-star caliber Finnish players anytime soon.
What was the party like in 2011, winning that World Championships?
Well, you have to remember that I was in Vancouver, so I didn't really watch. I didn't really follow it, but I guess it was huge. I mean, the again, we get to this drinking part, but there's an image always remembered from those celebrations when the team flew back from Bratislava, Slovakia. The tournament was. They flew back after the gold medal game and medals hanging on their necks, and they walk off the plane, the stairs, and assistant coach Pasi Nurminen, who was a goalie for Atlanta Thrashers for a few years back in the day. So he has played in NHL. So he was so freaking drunk that he tripped down the stairs, rolled on the
tarmac
airport.
Oh, man.
So that was an image of that tournament and how they celebrated that. Thank God he was a coach. None of the players did that, but I mean there were some, especially those airport interviews when media was there to welcome the team. Some of the guys were, not in their best shape, to be honest.
Yeah, I always think
of how the Finns party, right?
Yeah, I know the Finns party. It's unbelievable. I didn't really know that too well until you came here in '96 and realized, whoa, you guys know how to party. Wow. And Canadians really sort of take their party reputation quite, highly, and we think they're pretty good. But
you're just the beginners.
Yeah, we're just beginners. Yeah.
You're minor league.
Good times, yeah, really good times. Yeah, well, that was there was wide speculation because when Mikko decided to go to Columbus, obviously Jarmo Kekalainen was a big factor going there. Also, he wanted to continue his career. Minnesota, said we want to move in a different direction, but the biggest thing that's been coming out in the North American media is just John Tortorella and the difficulties and issues he has. He benches players quite often. He alienated Pierre-Luc Dubois, who asked for a trade. And now we have a new Finn here in Columbus. He comes in, he scores 3 goals in his first 4 games, and then he gets benched, Patrick Laine. And all of a sudden, Mikko Koivu gets scratched, healthy scratch, and he retires. So tell me about this John Tortorella factor. Do you think it had anything to play in the reason why Mikko's no longer?
No, but I have to say that no other NHL coach has in 1 week had ever had so big influence on Finnish players. In the same week, he pensions Patrick Laine, who's a 50-goal scorer, like a superstar, and makes Mikko Koivu retire. That's quite an achievement for 1 week. No, Tortorella, as Mikko told me when I interviewed him before he went to Columbus, he had signed with Columbus, obviously, but that was a few months ago. He said that Tortorella was one of the biggest reasons he wanted to go specifically to Columbus, because he knows that Tortorella runs a very simple, highly demanding, but very simple system. Okay. You do what you are asked to do, and you'll be fine. Okay. And it was a great detail about their first phone conversation, because Mikko had obviously, prior to his signing, had found out, made few phone calls that what is Tortorella like? What is Columbus like? Is that going to be a right fit for him? And when he decides that he's going to go there, so he knows pretty much about John Tortorella. And he had been told that Tortorella hates to be called sir. So their first phone call after he had signed, they talk about his role, and, you know, Tortorella welcomes him, and Mikko starts, sir, yes, sir. And Tortorella says, don't ever fucking call me that again. And Mikko knew that this is a place for me. I mean, there's all kinds of stories of John Tortorella that you know, I don't think, you know, all of those stories are not true, because obviously a lot of players have left Columbus, but each and every one have had their own, you know, personal reasons, whatever reasons, different reasons. Most of all, Tortorella is fair and honest. He's very straightforward. I don't think he's, you know, a modern coach in that sense, but hockey is still, it's very simple game. I mean, it's demanding sport that you pretty much have to give everything you have on every day, and that's only thing he asks. So I think his reputation is probably worse than he is. I know Jarmo Kekäläinen well, obviously. I've known him for 30 years, so I get an insight from Columbus. And obviously Jarmo Kekäläinen is biased when he, you know, talks about his coach, because it's his choice, right? So of course he has to like him. But I like to think, and I believe that Jarmo has no reason to lie to me when we talk about, every once in a while, when we talk about, for example, Tortorella. And Jarmo likes the way Tortorella, you know, establishes his system and his rules. They are very simple. And the benching on Patrick Laine, I mean, that was a huge story in North America. Like they have nothing else to talk about. Every freaking game in NHL, some player will say something to a coach or a teammate or whatever, because you are intense, you are in the heat of the battle, you know, things will be said and things are said, and it's not a big deal. But this time he was a new player in a new team. He didn't quite know how to play that one particular play when he actually dropped way too low in his own zone. He was, I don't even remember, but the assistant coach went to, you know, show him his play and said that, okay, you have to be here instead of here. And Patrick Laine said that, oh, fuck, I know this shit. Don't get the fuck out of my face. Whatever he said, like players usually many times too. But John Tortorella happened to notice that. And he thought that, okay, new guy, new team, he's probably going to be a superstar. So I have to make sure that nobody in this team thinks that he can get away with that. So it was more like a message to other players than to Patrick Laine, that, you know, it's a principle for him, to Tortorella, that you treat everybody equal. No matter if you're a superstar, no matter if you have scored 5 goals in 3 games or 3 goals in 3 games, but if you show disrespect to coaching staff, to teammates, you will see. Simple as that. But great story.
Yeah. I personally can't stand Tortorella. I hope he goes. I hope they send him to Siberia soon.
He's old school.
He deserves to go where Mike Keenan's been, and
How was he in Vancouver? He was there what 2-3 years?
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he was horrible. Yeah, it was just.
He was horrible.
He was horrible. It was a terrible experience. It was a terrible move. They really had a really bad time. And you remember when we were here in Vancouver when Mike Keenan came on.
Oh, he was horrible.
It was the same sort of thing. It was the same type of way the locker room was. It was, Keenan came in and all of a sudden, gone was Jyrki, gone was Trevor, gone was, the whole old team, and he tried to move the new
trading
Rangers
Trevor Linden was brutal move. And wasn't he ripped his captaincy too?
Yeah.
The C was given to Mark Messier, the Wonder Boy. I think Mark Messier is the most hated player in the Canucks history.
He is, yeah. Unfortunately, he came here as they labeled him the Messiah. He was going to come here and take them to win the cup because they hadn't won in '94, and he was able to help the Rangers, and he was the most overpaid and underproducing guy, and they just were terrible those years he was here. So,
I remember
bad times. Do you know what happened in Winnipeg with Patrick Laine? What happened there? Why did he want out?
It's a torn locker room in Winnipeg. It's not a very good chemistry in there, and I believe Patrick always thought that he should probably earn more ice time or a bigger role. He had a fairly good role there, but those two superstars in the team, Blake Wheeler and Seifel, they are like 1 and 2 punts with that team, and I believe Patrick always felt that he should, be among that group, or maybe even, in a bigger role than either one of those or whatever. But he never got that. I don't think it was so much of his dissatisfaction on his role than there are all kinds of rumors about the locker room, that the chemistry in the locker room is not the best in Winnipeg. So I guess it was some of many things that he wasn't entirely happy there. And no disrespect to Winnipeg or Manitoba, but Winnipeg is among all the studies that have over the course of years have been done by asking NHL players what is the least favorite city to live in, and Winnipeg always means that. So
I think it's mostly, unfortunately, the weather situation there, unfortunately, but Winnipeg was a very big destination back in the early days because of a guy named Don Baizley, and you ended up with a relationship with Don Baizley in his later years in life, and he was a lawyer turned agent who really started representing most of the Finnish players that came to the NHL. And he was very instrumental in bringing some Finnish players into Winnipeg, and it became some of the best players that they ever had.
Yeah, and because Don, who passed away, 5-6 years ago, he had severe cancer. Great man, and very respected, high profile super agent, modest as anybody, but he obviously had many Finnish players as his clients, from Sellanne to Saku Koivu to Mikko Koivu to Jyrki Lumme. Most of the early times Finnish players back in the 90s when I started out were working with Don. So I got to know Don fairly well when I was covering NHL, and every once in a while, a reporter has to call the agent and try to ask that what's going on. And during my last stint 10 years ago in Vancouver, he visited Vancouver quite often because his son was living in the same building as I did. So we used to sit at the Hurricane Grill and watch hockey games. And Don, who never wanted any publicity, but because we knew each other, So he would tell me all kinds of stories, like, and you could imagine how many stories he had, like, and sharp as hell, and remembers everything, and has been involved with the biggest deals in the history of the league, and never gotten a bad name because he was a wonderful, honest gentleman who probably did more for Finnish players and Finnish hockey than any other than a player has ever done. And sadly, a little bit got unrecognized for his job for Finnish players, because, I mean, he was one of the reasons why Jarri Kurri became Jarri Kurri.
Yeah.
Jarri Kurri, first season in Edmonton, he was homesick, same problems as I did 16 years after. Broken English, didn't feel that he fit very well, and Don was there to support him. And he always told me, Don Baizley, that like agents usually, they call the general managers or the coaches and they try to, speak for their players, right? That this player needs this, or he wants to play more, or he needs to play more, blah, 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 blah. Don always said that he never does that. He never does that, because it's my job. He always said that it's my job to negotiate your deal, and it's your job to play. I don't do that. But that time in the season 1980-81, first season, Jarri Kurri's first season, he called Glenn Sather. Some player got hurt who played Wayne Gretzky's wing. So he called Glenn Sather and said that, okay, I don't ever make these phone calls, but this time, Glenn, I need to tell you, you have a young Finnish guy, Jarri Kurri. He's a very homesick. He even considers on going back home because he doesn't get to play too much. And now when you have an opening on Wayne's wing, put him to play with Wayne.
Wow.
Give him 3 games. Give him 3 games. And Glenn said, okay, munching his cigar, he said, okay, I'll do this time. I'll do it this time. And Jarri played 3 games and never left since then.
That's
those
incredible.
kind of stories, like imagine me, a hockey nut, a reporter,
Wow. Nice.
Don Baizley, a living legend. He knows me. He knows what I do. And we sit there at the Hurricane Grill. We watch hockey games on TV. On Sundays, you might actually see 3 games. You drink beer, you eat some chicken wings, and you talk about hockey, and he tells you stories like that. Chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that I have had these opportunities in my life, to be involved with, people like that.
Yeah. No, that was such a treat. That just turned out so well that his son lived in the same building. The Hurricane Grill was right below you guys, and a place for a lot of hockey people to go and watch games and talk hockey. You met amazing people there. You met Greg Shannon, who produces the Canucks games. You met Dan. You met a lot of people that were really big hockey people, and you ended up having so many amazing hockey conversations. And a lot of times after games, you would bring players in so you could have a meal, you could have a few pops, and have some fun. And it was really recognized by the owner there, by the staff, the bartenders and stuff. And it was just a great place to talk hockey and watch hockey.
Yep, true. But it was super special to hang out with Don Baizley.
Amazing.
It's just
amazing.
So many great stories. One he told about, and this is the old days. Back in the 80s, when the New Jersey organization, they played in Colorado prior, right? And they moved to.
They were the Rockies.
Rockies became New Jersey Devils.
Correct.
They moved to New Jersey, and the team was owned by a millionaire who built ships. I don't remember his name. Anyway, they had a Finnish player there back in early 80s. Tapio Leva was his name, defenseman, and he had a 2-year deal, but he wanted to go home in between those 2 seasons because wife was homesick, he was homesick, broken English, it's those typical problems that we stupid Finns had back in the 80s and even in 90s.
Yeah.
So he tells GM and the coach that he wants to quit. He wants to, go home and leave the deal, whatever.
Wow.
So the owner calls Don Baizley and asks, "Who's the president of Finland?" And Baizley is like, "I have no idea. What do you need that for?" "I need to call the president of Finland to tell this defenseman to honor his contract." So Don Baizley says that, "Well, sir, I don't think Finland works that way. I think Finland is a fairly modern democracy. It's not Soviet Union,
Wow.
And the owner, whoever his name is, like, "Oh, whatever. Make sure that this guy comes back and plays for another year because he has to honor his contract."
Oh my God.
Call the president of Finland.
Oh my goodness.
I want the president of Finland to make him honor his contract.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Those kind of stories.
Yeah.
Announcing that. Drinking beer and listening those kind of stories. I mean, life can't get better.
Life can't get better than that. I know. I've been part of many amazing conversations with you and many hockey minds over the years. And yeah, I look back so fondly on so many of those times. And I'm glad you had that relationship with Don because he was so instrumental in Finnish hockey. And so
he helped so many players.
Yeah. We mentioned Teemu very, very briefly, but tell me how good Teemu Sellanne was. He was just such an amazing fast player, incredible goal scorer, 76 goals in his rookie year. He was instrumental in so many international Finnish teams that had success. The Finnish Flash was just so exciting and such an incredible player.
I think I learned to understand and respect his career and him only when he turned 40.
Wow.
He still played 3 more years, but those were the years when I was in Vancouver, so I covered him a lot and we spoke on the phone on a weekly basis. And when he was younger, everything seemed so easy for him. He would score 50 goals and do all kinds of magic things just like that.
Nice.
But I learned that, and at that age, 40, 41, 42, he still scored more than 30 goals. The way he changed his approach, that, not relying on the talent or just skating, but, changing his diet, working out harder than ever and making a fraction of the money that he made during his heydays, right?
Yeah.
So the devotion for the sport, for athleticism and all that, I was super impressed to learn that person, he loved playing hockey. He loved being an athlete. He loved taking good care of himself. I mean, it's rare that a 40+ person can play in NHL, and he was in super great shape, and that was only because of the devotion. And that example, I think, is more meaningful for younger players in Finland than his 76 goals or $10 million contracts or his 25 supercars. It's that you can only achieve something in this sport if you are 100% devoted to it. Yeah. And he showed that. He had retired when he first thought that he was going to retire, it was a lockout year after the horrible year in Colorado, when he got his knee operated during the off season or off year, and he thought about retiring. Had he retired then, I would have never respected him as much as I do now, because those last 3 years probably were the most significant and meaningful for his legacy than the years when he scored 50 or 60 goals.
Yeah. I have so much respect for him. How great he kept himself in shape when they had the early training sessions, he beat everybody, and he was double their some of their ages were half as much as his, and he was phenomenal guy, and I'm glad he really kept his career going so much. And I do want you to mention Saku Koivu also became the captain of Montreal Canadiens, which is the most historic franchise we have in Canada and across the NHL, winning all the Stanley Cups over their history. To be able to be a Finnish player and become captain of the Montreal Canadiens must have been such an honor for him, such an honor for Finnish people.
Well, Montreal, you don't really get to understand the significance of Canadiens once if you don't go to Montreal. You have to be there to really understand it. But Finns understand that it's most storied franchise in the history of NHL, and we know that. I mean, even the ones who haven't been to Montreal and haven't been to Old Forum, which I was lucky enough to visit, we still do understand that it's. I mean, in a way, it's Maple Leafs. I mean, Toronto obviously is because it's so huge and it's the capital of hockey, but we know that hockey in a city like Montreal is religion-like, and becoming a European captain of that franchise for 9 years is something beyond understanding. Like everybody knows that it's huge. We do understand that it. I mean, being a captain in any of the NHL franchises is a great honor. But it adds a little bit extra to be a captain of Montreal Canadiens, especially if you're a guy who doesn't speak French.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, huge, so huge, and the outpouring of support he got when he went through his cancer and came back was so heartwarming. It must have been so respected and loved by his family to see how
I was at that game. I was at that game when he made his comeback.
Wow.
Versus Ottawa Senators. Was it February 2002? Something like that. Oh, it's easy to Google. I was at that game.
How did you stop from crying?
I cried. I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was there as a reporter. But when the standing ovation before the game went on and on and on for a good 15 minutes, I couldn't help. I got tears on my cheeks, and I wasn't trying to hide them. I mean, that was, as my reporter career, I've covered Olympics and world champs and all kinds of events. That's the most touchful moment of my reporter life. Nice. And I've never felt anything after that or before that quite like that. It was amazing. And we had his family was there, father, not brother, but a couple of his good friends, girlfriend, obviously, then girlfriend, nowadays wife, Hanna, and we had a dinner after that, after the game at the Buena Notte in Montreal, which is a great, wonderful restaurant in Montreal, and the atmosphere, the feeling, being able to be part of that. Wow, one of highlight of my career.
That's great. Wow. I was going to ask you what the highlight of your career is, so I'm glad that ended up being able to tell me that through that story. We need to talk about the greatest Finnish defenseman to ever play in the NHL,
Jyrki Lumme.
Yeah, we definitely need to mention him before we go.
Vancouver, even though it's a great city, and I would pick it the best city in the world, but Vancouver is a winner when it gets to have Jyrki Lumme to live there. He chose to live there for the rest of his life after his career. He lives up in North Vancouver. He's a very active member of local alumni, and he's a very significant figure in a sports scene there. I'm a little bit surprised, and okay, you have I have to be honest. I'm a little bit biased here because I've known Jyrki since I was 4. We were neighbors.
Wow.
My father used to coach him. He's 4 years older than I am, but we have been best friends, since we were kids. So I'm biased. But the Canucks have a ring of honor there, and you don't fucking have Jyrki Lumme there. That's a fucking disaster. You have Tuomas Gradin. What? What? Cool? I mean, you have to get your head from your ass and make this, happen.
I fully agree.
I mean, it's a disaster. I don't even have words.
Yeah,
He's all-time. I mean, Sedin's obviously, Linden obviously, but he's all-time defenseman of the team, and he was a crucial part of probably the most exciting Canucks team.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, when they went to finals, they should have won the Rangers. Okay, they had pretty fucking good team back in 2010 and 11 too, and very exciting. But those days in early 90s, when the Canucks became, huge in Vancouver, and him, Kirk McLean, Trevor, Babbitt, Ronning, all these guys, I mean, they built the history of the franchise in that city, and he was by far the best defenseman during that time, and he's not in the Ring of Honor. It's a disaster. I'm ashamed.
We got to make it happen.
Shocked.
Yeah, we got to make it happen.
You gotta make it happen. Gotta make it happen. He deserves that, and he's the last person to ever say that out loud.
He wouldn't,
he wouldn't, because he's humble. He's a gentleman. From top to bottom, very nice person. But he deserves that.
We got to start a
campaign.
Start a campaign. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like Gino Ojic used to tell us, hey, get on the campaign to get Pavel Bure in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Gino would say it every time we ran into him. Hey, what can you help me get Pavel in the Hall of Fame? And he's there.
Pavel obviously was a superstar of the league, and he was, probably the best player of the league. But I think Jyrki Lumme significance for the Canucks is bigger than Pavel Bure. I mean, they were at the same time, but Jyrki was there for longer, and Pavel was flashy superstar player. But if you look at from the Canucks side, I think Jyrki Lumme gave more to Canucks than Pavel Bure because he was there longer, and he's still there.
Yeah, still here.
I mean, I have nothing against Pavel Bure, but if I had to choose between those two, I would choose Jyrki Lumme. Yeah. And Pavel would have been inducted to Ring of Honor already, but he wants so much money from it. So it and this is a scoop for you.
Yeah,
it's a money issue.
Oh wow!
Unfortunately.
Yeah. We Finnish talent is rampant through the NHL. We see Mikko Rantanen in Colorado, on one of the greatest lines in the league. We see so much talent spread across the league. Barkov is amazing. We've got just so many amazing Finns all over. One thing that you texted me recently was that most of these junior championships now are going to be dominated by the Finns in a lot of ways because they're playing against men at an earlier age than our guys are, or a lot of these other countries are. So we're going to see more and more Finnish talent as the years go by, aren't we?
Well, Canadian and Americans, they play in the junior leagues, obviously, good players, but Finnish league with the 15 teams nowadays, and all the better players are playing in some other leagues that play more money, Russia, NHL, Switzerland, Sweden. So there's a lot of openings for young talent in Finnish major league. So obviously, if you can collect your under 20 team from players who all play in major league in Finland, which is pretty good league, you get an advantage, of course, because your guys don't play juniors. I mean, I don't want to downplay Canadian junior leagues. They are very, very good leagues, but it's still a little bit different to play professionally in the men's league and then get to play under 20 tournament. That's the massive advantage that Finland has versus any other country in the world right now.
Yeah, lucky
because
you guys.
our league is so shit that 18-year-olds get to play in men's league.
You're hilarious.
Yeah.
Is the league running right now with the coronavirus?
It's running.
Okay.
Yeah, it's running. They are playing. They are playing without audience. Obviously, same thing as in NHL. And you know, it's troubling times. It's troubling times. But I hope the owners' pockets are deep enough that they survive through this. The vaccination is on its way, but I think this season pretty much is done. They are not gonna allow people in the stands before the season is played. But if all those 15 teams survive through this, they should be okay when the next season starts.
Yeah.
But it's been devastating times for all the industry that's driven by ticket sales.
Massive, yeah.
Movies,
yeah,
movies, theaters.
So tough. Yeah.
It's fucking brutal times.
Yeah. We can't wait till it's over. Yeah. We
can't wait till it's over, but we will survive through this. My colleague was just diagnosed with corona. I might be exposed, but I haven't yet been tested because I haven't gotten the phone call from authorities. They should call me and because I'm symptom free. In Finland, you can't have yourself tested if you're symptom free. So I need to get an okay from authorities to get to have myself tested.
Oh wow, I see.
But that's the closest that I have gotten to coronavirus.
Do you mostly work from home?
Yeah, 90%, almost 100%.
Okay.
I go to the office like once a month, just visit there quickly.
And what about your wife, Sanika? Does she get to work from home a bit?
No, she works home. She works home too.
Oh, does she? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad you guys aren't exposing
Obviously, you
yourself.
work home too.
Yeah. You
hey,
something flashed down. I know you got to go. I know.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah,
this was great.
This was so great. This was one of my favorite hours of my year.
I've been trying to avoid this interview for quite some time because, as I told you, I'm not an expert anymore. But if we get to talk about stuff that happened, you know, ancient days, 30, 40 years ago, I'm always up for that. But don't ask me anything about today's NHL.
I'm glad you're still my Thunder buddy. I'm glad you haven't become I'm glad you haven't turned into a koala bear. I'm glad
I was coming to that because you need to tell your audience who is Koala Bear and where the name came from. This hilarious story.
It's hilarious, yeah. Good times, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast this hour went. We're gonna have to do it again. We'll fit it in again soon. And all the best to you. I hope you guys can stay safe. Enjoy your sauna. Say hi to Sanika and Siri for me and anybody else that I know in Finland. I can't wait to see you guys in the summer. I'm gonna come and we're gonna celebrate your wedding. And hey, buddy, thanks for this time. I really appreciate it.
You take care. Talk to you soon.
Love you, buddy. Bye for now. Okay. Wow, that was a fantastic hour. I'm so glad we could have one of my all-time favorite people on the planet to join us. Vesa Rantanen is a great guy, and we're going to have him as a guest again and get into some more of the stories and a lot of more of the fun times that we've had over our life. Just a really unique individual in Finland, super outgoing guy. Walks into a room and everybody's his friend within the first hour, and hopefully it comes through the Zoom airwaves. Can't wait to do this live with him one day soon. Going to be going to Finland again in the summer and celebrating his wedding with him. So I do want to mention our partners and sponsors before we go. I didn't want to interject because I knew we had limited time with him with that. So bear with me for a second. I want to mention Anchor. Anchor's been a fantastic partner and sponsor for Complete Sports Media. They've been really great at posting on multiple podcast platforms. They call themselves the easiest place to make a podcast. So you go to anchorfm.com and you're able to create a podcast and do what we've done here. And it'll enrich your life. It'll make it a lot better. And it's a really fun place. I want to mention Verbero. They are the hockey equipment and apparel company, industry leader in technology, performance, and value. And the V350 stick is a can't miss product for you. If you're a hockey player, get this stick in your hands and impress your teammates and the people that you're playing against. Let's talk about Pampas and Possibilities. They design and sell dried florals, floral arrangements, and do installations. They are designers of handmade, curated, pretty things with West Coast vibes at reasonable prices. Check them out on our Instagram and Facebook. And Forever Living, they're the aloe vera company. They grow and manufacture aloe vera-based products for health and beauty. Aloe vera has been celebrated for centuries for its soothing, cooling, and moisturizing properties. So thank you so much to our partners and sponsors. And we get to do this all the time. This was a fantastic hour. I'm just giddy about it. I was so excited to hear that Vesa was able to squeeze us into his very busy life and schedule. And he's off to his sauna now that he does every Sunday night. It's Sunday night there. It's Sunday morning here. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I hope you enjoy this so much. Give us some feedback, give us some likes, comments, and check out our website, www.completesportsmedia.com. You can purchase products there, and you can see all the podcasts that we've done, and you can see the new branches of the Complete Sports, the Complete Media conglomerate. Exciting news, a lot of really exciting things happening with Complete Media, and can't wait to share them with you. Thank you for your time, as always. Love you lots. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.